Hey guys, this is Daniel from the future that is the future ahead of the time that we recorded the last episode. As you see, there was technical difficulties and we ended up having to use camera audio. So this is just me saying sorry for that and it will not happen again. I will be on my best behavior from now on. Anyway, enjoy this shorter episode and see you in the next one. Hey guys, welcome to this episode of the Black Japan Podcast. Thank you for beating the 3 episode rule and welcome to episode 4.
I'm back.
Yeah, you've been gone for like a long time. What's going on?
Life,
What?
2 jobs, and
Okay.
3 careers.
One, you should know this since you've been gone from the YouTube ecosystem, but apparently cursing is even a bigger no-no. So instead of
I
the
know.
F word, let's say fook.
You can't just
Like
bleep me
Fukuoka?
out. Oh, that would
And
be
instead
absurd.
of
Wait, I can't curse?
Yeah, it's like now there's a new rule where it's like if it's the first 8, they say the first 8
if it's
to
the first
15,
8
but
seconds,
you don't even.
but like even then, it
Yeah.
seems like even it's like after that, like you can't curse too much in like succession. What do y'all, as a black woman, think about the whole cultural appropriate? Okay, let me. I'm already making it like a hot take. I'm just asking the question.
Episode
But-
4.
but-
Hot
so hot
takes. Bring out
takes.
the hot takes.
Because I always hear about like this whole thing of like dreads and like box braids and like stuff like that. What is like your opinion about that?
In Japan specifically.
Or in,
I would
I
say
think in general would be it's like that's a to say in general is a very it's an extremely multi-level. You have to peel that thing apart like
There
an
are
onion.
layers.
okay.
Yeah.
Then let's like focus it on Japan for now, because I see girls all the time, and I have like a few friends that Japanese friends that like really like Japanese. I mean, black culture, especially like hip hop and stuff like that, and they will like put their hair in braids and stuff like that. But these like
cornrows or like box braids or like
I've seen
Probably all the above.
all the above. And what do you think about that? Because like Japan specifically, when like Japanese people like a culture, they will do everything in their power to imitate that culture, and not coming from all as like appropriating, but just to show kind of like respect and just to like really do the culture up to the most, because in that way they are doing their best to appreciate the culture. So that's the reason why there's like a big like what's that Latin dance called, salsa culture over there.
Soca?
Salsa
Oh.
salsa culture. There's a big rockabilly, so like 1950s greaser.
I know, but all
like,
the rock. I've never seen a rockabilly at the
I
age
did.
of 50.
yeah, that's the thing too. But they like dress up with like the big pompadours and leather jackets and
Because like back in the
everything.
80s, it was a huge thing, and
Yeah.
everyone either outgrew it or they held on to it.
As like
So
a,
if you-
as
Only
a
in Japan.
personality trait.
And so if you go to if you go to Yoyogi Park on any given Saturday,
Yeah.
you will see the rockabillys at the entrance by Yoyogi Stadium. Like you will
Really?
see them, and they're all like in their 50s. And
Yeah.
up.
Yeah,
Granted,
it's
I'm
crazy.
not knocking it because it's like, you know what, if you have a hobby that you liked as a young person, you held on to it, and it's not harming anybody. The rockabillys, it looks like Grease is their favorite movie.
Basically,
I
yeah.
have
And
like
there's,
a weird opinion about it
Yeah.
because so I'm super
because I do want to mention the
Also,
more
rockabilly is not my
ethnically
culture.
sort of like version of this would be like Japanese people, kind of like Japanese people that are really into like Chicano culture. So they'll get like tan and stuff like that and dress up like as like like Chicano and like stuff like that, and they'll have like they'll like import like high riders and stuff like that, and there's like a bunch of like low riders and stuff like that.
Low riders.
low rise.
Low rise is Jeep.
No, low riders.
Like the car.
Yeah.
The hydraulics.
Yeah, low riders.
I mean,
But,
it's like my
As like 2 black women, what do you think about?
Chicano culture I can't really speak on because that's not my
Yeah, but I'm just saying
no
that
in general. I'm really into fashion, right? And so that's why I think about that a lot as well. Like, what is the line between appropriation and like appreciation? Because on one side, and as a black woman, I love like the subgenres of like Japanese fashion, like Gothic Lolita, geisha style fashion. Most of I just really love and I appreciate most of those subcultures, right? And I want to be a part of that. I want to dress up like that. I feel like for one, it's like helping you to like blend in with society because these are prominent cultures, fashion cultures in their country. and it's because it's like it's also fashion, right? So, and you think about that, the flip side, because I'm like, all right, if I think it's okay if I want to be a part of their culture or their fashion, because I think that's a very important thing
So
to
you
know.
feel like
Their
hair goes a bit deeper than fashion then?
Yes and no, because I mean, again, like this is a personal opinion, right? I'm speaking just for me. If on one side, I'm like, I want to be a part of their fashion culture, and I would like, and this is taking aside the whole like cultural appreciation thing with dressing up, like to embrace the culture. Just literally, just like I like how the fashion looks. If it's pretty, I want to wear it. I'm like, okay, if I want to do this, I should not. I don't have the right to say it's wrong for them to want to wear out. So like black fashion, like streetwear, heavy streetwear, all the gold chains and whatnot, and like
at
the
this
box
point,
braids and
black fashion has like with that kind of like the urban like streetwear. That's just become like synonymous and like kind of like ubiquitous. I feel like there's like so many people worldwide that through like osmosis of like 2 or 3 levels removed from it even liking rap will just like naturally because of the people around them dress in certain ways just because rap has become that much of like pop culture around the world.
And then I think like
when I was there, like it was so you'd see people wearing something all over Shibuya, like.
Well, that's the thing with like streetwear, because like streetwear as like its modern incarnation is such a heavy Japanese and like African American kind of like mix.
I don't know about that.
If you go into the history, like a lot of like the big kind of Bape and stuff like that, they're like Japanese. So like,
but where were they inspired from?
No, that's what I'm saying. So it's kind of like a cross like cultural sort of thing. But that's like getting like off the topic.
I will say one thing though. I feel like the thing that really separates appreciation from appropriation in any sense of any culture. Are you so like for example I brought up the whole dressing up as like in a Japanese fashion subculture and then you acting mad kawaii because you're acting like a Japanese stereotype. I think if you go and if you're like I want to dress like this to act like that, that's where you're crossing the line. And converse, it's the same with. And since we're talking about Japanese people in black fashion, it's like, are they gonna dress up as a in a black black fashion subculture, and then start be like, hey yo, what's up, like that? And I think when you start doing that, that's when you went wrong. That's when you went south.
But I feel like there's like a fine. I mean, because what would you say about like Japanese rappers then?
Oh, they're crossing that line.
I don't feel like all Japanese, but I do understand kind of like stereotypically saying
certain Japanese rappers definitely
do.
Because their act, it's like it's an act. There are some who grew up in the slums and thus and that's like that. Like let's be for real, that is a typical nature of somebody who has most people who
have struggle.
Yeah,
like I did notice that like a lot of hip hop fans in Japan, like a lot of the ones that I've met. When they were younger, they struggled in some way. Like, they might have grown up in a housing project in Japan. Or they might...
Hell those? Oh, shit.
Yeah, they do. Yes.
All I've ever wanted in life
sugar.
is to be
sugar
successful.
No, but like, they might, be biracial, have a parent.
Or be like bullied, because I feel
be bullied,
that's like a big thing.
And even the ones I noticed too, like the people who are into hip hop who didn't necessarily grow up poor, they were different in some way that caused them to be bullied. So like I think the whole overcoming adversity aspect is what resonated with them. Mm-hmm. And I thought that was interesting when I kind of made that connection because the guys that weren't bullied were like, or not the people who weren't bullied, or maybe their experiences are a bit different, they might not, feel that same ability to resonate with like messages in hip hop.
Exactly, that's the problem. So because you're putting on your caricature.
But at the same time, I didn't know a lot of like almost all the hip hop fans I knew had to deal with some sort of adversity when they were younger. Either stuff happening at home, socioeconomic issues. Like I won't go into detail, but like I actually remember noticing that pattern, and not just like I listen to. Honestly, not even just like the most popular rappers, even rappers that are like pretty popular in the US, unless their songs are like huge, the average Japanese person is not going to know that because the era of like, American hip hop being mainstream popular in Japan is over.
Yeah.
Like maybe back in like 2002, the average Japanese 20-something would know, a lot more popular American hip hop artists. But I'd say now, honestly, I noticed that people born in the 80s and the early 20s and like the 2000s, that decade, that generation is probably where hip hop became the most popular.
Yeah.
So,
And then by the time I got there in 2013, like EDM was like the thing.
oh my God, stop talking about EDM. I'm like traumatized by EDM in Japan. Oh my God.
So like, and I remember when I would talk to older Japanese people like in their 40s, and if they liked R&B or hip hop, I'd be like, oh, who do you like? They'd be like, I really like SWV.
SWV.
This guy told me
Whoa,
straight up he went to an SWV concert, and I was like, oh, I like Ed Vogue. He's like, oh yeah, Ed Vogue was really good. And then like they talk about like that, like they get really deep into it. And I remember when the Surviving R. Kelly documentary came out, the thing is, Japanese R&B and hip hop fans are very thorough. They're like the English-speaking J-pop fans. They know about all.
Wait, did we like talk about this once, like at the party? I think we did.
So basically, I remember when Surviving R. Kelly came out, I was looking on Twitter and I see all the English tweets. People are conflicted on how they felt about R. Kelly and like the women involved, the parents of the girls involved. And then all of the Japanese fans are just like, yo, R. Kelly's the worst. I feel so bad for Aaliyah. Like, where are they getting this information from?
For real?
Then I found out that someone went through and they summarized the whole damn thing in Japanese. And I read it. I was like,
dedication.
but like, the Japanese fans are more unanimously like,
it's not a moral gray area. It's just black and
like,
white. He's negative.
I mean, I don't listen. If like really conflicted, I don't think I want to hang out with you.
It's like, ooh.
At this point, the only way to be conflicted about that is to literally not know the whole story and be intent on not knowing
Or
the
you're a
whole story.
pedophile.
Or be but like the Japanese hip hop fans are such dedicated fans to R&B and hip hop that when they hear about something in that. It's like that. It's people who are in a niche. If you're into a niche subculture, you go heavy into it because it's so niche.
Yeah, so that's why I do like. That's what I said. I feel like it's all about it's like I feel like cultural appropriation and appreciation is a very subjective thing because two people could be wearing the same culturally appropriating outfit, whatever, but two completely different intentions. Their intention is all that separates for them because. It's just like
and like to be honest, the way I've always seen it, and at least with like the discussion like on Twitter and stuff like that.
Oh,
it's
God,
always
Twitter.
like, do you remember when these like white high schoolers dressed up like in the Chinese, like the girls dressed up like in the traditional, and like everybody like on Twitter was like, that's cultural appropriation.
But what was the intent? Were they dressing up for like a particular, like what was the reason?
It was for the prom.
Or something.
Yeah.
And like people on Twitter were not cool with it, but then like people in China saw it and they were cool with it.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I guess who the people on Twitter on? One, they're not like native Chinese. Two, they're probably white.
Or they Chinese American.
Or they're Chinese American, which is also like very different from being.
I can't speak on that because that's not my culture.
Yeah.
We can't speak on that, but like,
I do remember reading an article about this. She's South Asian, and she was talking about how like when she was a kid, people would always like make fun of her for having like stinky food or whatever. But then when like girls her age, those same girls would grow up. Same girls would grow up and they like be wearing like the henna tattoos, and like. And her older family members who are from overseas, they grew up in America as adults. We're like, oh, it's great that they're partaking in our culture. And then the girl who grew up here was just like, I just think it's really funny how all of a sudden it's cool. So that aspect of it, I'm just like, that's interesting. Like,
so I do understand those people for sure.
Because you know why? Because since for the people who are natively from China or just from any native land, right? Because it's the same thing with Africans and Dashikis.
Yeah, all you niggas making fun of the African kid in middle school. Suddenly, when Kendrick started getting hot, all y'all got woke.
But
I hope you find the African kid you bullied as a child and say sorry to them.
The thing was
case.
the people of the native country, right? To them, they've never experienced discrimination. So to them, they're like, oh. As far as they're concerned, they're like, our culture is getting shared. People are liking our things versus like people. I say America in particular because we're one of the main places where this shit goes on. Sugar, honey, iced tea. I mean, where it's kind of like since we face discrimination for being what we are, it's like, oh, all of a sudden, it's cool because you said it. So it's like, and no one's perspective is invalidated because we have two separate experiences. We're literally both. So I feel like people's opinions could exist side by side. Nothing is over the other because if you have never experienced discrimination, you see somebody like, you see, if you're an African person, you see somebody in Japan wearing a whole dashiki, you're like, oh my gosh, look at our fashion in Japan versus African American. We're like, oh, I thought we were African booty scratchers and you're wearing this now? So it's kind of like, you know?
African booty, oh my god.
I mean, I just was
I've
not,
heard that in so long.
I was not expecting that. Like, I wasn't ready.
Oh my god.
No, but I was gonna bring up the point where, like, you know, sometimes people will wear like black hairstyles or whatever. And I remember in one particular instance thinking, like, you might wear this hairstyle, but when it comes to, like, you think that the style is cool, but, like, do you really have that same respect for black people? So I remember that's another right. Part to it. For example, like, I thought that the kimono was pretty, but also I thought that I had a lot of respect for the culture, so that's why I wanted to wear it. But I do remember when there was a BLM protest in Tokyo, and this was not 2020, but 2014, and I was there with my friends from college, and actually Aisha, the singer, was like leading it.
Really?
Yeah, she was out there with like the.
What was she doing in
Wait,
Japan?
she the one that made music for the.
Aisha, the singer. She did a Naruto ending as well.
Oh, because she also done it for my favorite video game. I didn't know she.
Wait, is she like part Japanese or just
She's
like?
half Japanese.
Oh, okay.
And I think her dad is American, but I don't remember.
The dads are usually the black ones. The wives.
You know.
That's another conversation though.
The irony, because everyone swore I was gonna have a Asian baby, and look at me.
I mean, this
anyway.
for now.
Anyway, I'm child free. Baby making factory is out right now.
Ooh.
But listen, not in this economy. Kids are expensive.
We might even die 2050. We can't do that.
Exactly. Climate change. Fascism on the rise. No, but I remember when my friends and I were at the BLM protest, and I remember seeing a guy with cornrows. Japanese with cornrows, super long cornrows. And I'm like, and then my friends and I were looking at him, and I was like, he needs to get over here. Like, because we're about to start marching. Like, he needs to get over here. Like, what the hell's he doing? And I remember this really.
Where's he going to the side?
Right, and I remember this really awful girl from my university. Like, she thought, she twisted it into, like, me being attracted to the man, even though, like, he had a stroller and a child in a stroller. But she was like, oh my god, you're so fast, da 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 da. She was one of those. Anyway.
She's an ex-friend, right?
Oh, no. She was a girl from university. She's not my friend. Well, that's a whole other story. Not for the podcast, but the story behind that.
Private.
That crazy girl. But anyway, this girl done called me fast, and I'm literally saying, like, he has cornrows. He has a half black child. Like, you think.
Do you think he hates black people? I mean.
And I was like, that. So that's where my, like, mentally, that's where my, like, thought process was like, you got cornrows and a half black child. I know you're not sitting here watching us. Lo and behold, he joined the protest.
Okay, thank God.
And I was
about
like,
to be like, we better call his wife, cause
right. He had a little girl, biracial girl in the stroller. I remember the whole time, like, and that's what the girl had me fucked up because she literally called me fast. Like, first of all, are you a 40-year-old woman slut shaming a child? Because who even says that? Anyway, but I just remember thinking, okay, you know, I'm not, like, you know, in the grand scheme of things, of, like, you know, hills to die on, yeah, he's got cornrows but he also has a half-black daughter that he's brought to the BLM protest.
And he was supporting black people, apparently. That's so. I feel like.
And again, like, I did not speak to this guy. I just remember seeing him there, and I was just kind of like, I mean, in the grand scheme of things, him having cornrows. Well, honestly, a person having cornrows, personally, if it's not on my head, I don't really care. Like, in the grand scheme of things, I've always kind of wondered, like, if you, like, have box braids and your hair is different, like, is that good for your hair like that? Like, is it?
I don't think it's not that it's bad.
I mean, I know what box braids do with my hair. I don't have an issue with it. Like, my hair doesn't have an issue with it, but I just kind of wonder if you have, like, naturally straight hair, like, how
I mean, there's a lot of grip involved, so them edges about to take a real hit, but that's not our
Probably have
problem.
their baby hairs anyway. Actually, they're adult hairs. We're not gonna go there.
They're adult hairs,
They're adult
grown
hair.
grandpa hairs. But yeah, no. So I think it all just goes back to like, what is your intent? Are you there to stereotype a culture in this outfit, or are you literally like, you know what? I love this culture. I appreciate this culture. I just want to feel like I'm a part of it, and their fashion is awesome. I think that pretty much we just solved the issue, guys. We just solved cultural appropriation.
We just solved racism.
We just solved
Racism has been
racism.
defeated.
This was over, you guys.